Now, is trance authentic as per Hinduism? Short answer, yes, very, very much. And let us look at its explanation. So, when we talk about trance, we generally talk about a state of oneness with a deity, which is temporary. So, this has a very relevant significance in our culture. If we look at the agamas, which is used as a basis to construct our temples and also to perform puja and consecration, we have a very important step called Nyasam. Nyasam corresponds with the shloka of our agama scriptures, which goes as Yad Devam Archayet Tva Tat Devam Atma Bhavana. It means whichever deity that you are out to worship, you shall transform or you shall become that deity. So, in the Vedas, the Mahavakyas, the summary of the Vedas is about us realizing the true nature that we are literally the absolute reality or Paramatma, which is manifest as the Atma, or leaving complex philosophies alone, that we are that absolute, we are that, we are the state that we are talking about. So, using that as a crux, this is applied into Agama. So, Nyasa means we use various mantras to transform our literal being into that of the deity. Because as the Agamas clearly describe or mention, you cannot worship a deity unless you become the deity. This is applicable to all great temples which function as per authentic Agama. So, for example, as per Shaiva Agama, if you want to worship Sadashiva, you must become Sadashiva. And how is this done? Through Nyasam. You would have noticed the acharyas touching different parts of their body, uttering different mantras. So, the idea comes from the Vedas. So, the Vedas is pure knowledge, while the Agamas is the applied part of the Vedas. So, when we look at Vedas, the Vedas are in the form of mantras. And what does this mean? The mantras reflect the cosmic vibration which reverberates as the universe. So, if you take a small stone and throw it upon a water body, you will notice that the contact between the stone and the water body creates a point, a sound which vibrates, and that vibration will create a pattern, a shape. So, when you throw a rock onto a water body, it creates a ripple. So, this understanding gives us the idea that sound is the basis for form or geometry. And when this geometry consolidates, we have the perceivable universe. So, the entire universe as we perceive has a skeleton of just sound energy, pure sound energy. And these sound patterns are recognized and they are recited as the Vedas. So, when we say in Agamas, when we talk about a deity, for example, Sadashivas, we say that his body is a mantric body, a body which is made up of vibrations, because as the embodiment of cosmos, using the logic given, his body is made up of vibrations, because the skeleton of the universe is made up of vibrations or mantras. That is why we say that Sadashiva has a mantramaya sharira, a sharira which is made up of mantras. And we understand the different mantras which make up his form and incorporate the same onto our body. For example, the head responds to the Ishana mantra, the face to the Tatpurusha mantra, the heart to the Aghora mantra, the privy part with the Vamadeva mantra, and the limbs with the Satyojata mantra. So, like this, we have various Nyasam. So, using the hand, we first purify ourselves and we touch different parts of the body and incorporate very specific bija mantras so that the whole body, the being itself, becomes likened to Sadashiva. We attain a state with Sadashiva. And there are many forms of Nyasam. For example, the Dandabhangi Nyasam, which consecrates the central part of the body, the Munda Bhangi Nyasam, which consecrates the heads, the Vaktra Bhangi Nyasam, which consecrates the face, the Ashtatrimshat Kala Nyasam, which incorporates various mantras into very specific parts of the body like the neck, the ear, etc. And then we have the Antarmatrika Nyasam and Bahirmatrika Nyasam, where we use the alphabets of Sanskrita to consecrate different parts of the body. So we have a very, very intricate process in making ourselves one with the deity before we even commence a puja. This is why the qualification of a Shivacharya is very much profound. There's a lot of training which is compulsory before he attains the state, because the person who's performing the puja must become the deity. If you're performing a sadhana or a worship for Sadashiva, you must first create or attain the state of oneness with the deity. And this also has a pramana in the Vedas. For example, in the Taittiriya Aranyakam, there's a portion which describes or instructs the path to meditate, a proper guidance on meditation and the experience of a meditator. A beautiful verse corresponds to this. Narayana paro dhyata dhyananyara. Narayana paro dhyata dhyanannarayanah paraha. Meaning, the person who is meditating on Narayana is verily Narayana. It is Narayana who is meditating on Narayana. The Atma and Paramatma are one. So this principle is what we see in trance. A person attains a state of oneness with the deity temporarily, either voluntarily or involuntarily. Voluntary avesha or voluntary channeling is done for a noble purpose of guiding someone or giving solutions to people who seek help from the deity. It enables the deity to reflect and use a particular channel, a particular sharira, to help devotees in a very proximal level. This is something which is very essential in our culture, in our folk culture. This is something which is very, very, very important in Kula Devata worship, and particularly with family traditions. So this is something very authentic, and this is an integral part of Hinduism. And we should accept that folk culture is unique, it has its own part, and it is very part of our culture, right? If you are not aligned to the folk culture, it is better not to make any comments about it, because the depth and the significance of it is being valued and experienced by myriad across the globe today, right? And we also have an Apta Pramana on trance in the very life of the Jagat Guru Adi Shankaracharya. So to put a long story short, Adi Shankaracharya's disciple, Padmapada, he gets the trance or avesha of Lord Narasimha, and he literally reflects that deity, and he behaves like the deity in a very ferocious manner, and even goes to the extent of killing a Kapalika who was about to murder Adi Shankaracharya. So there is equal Apta Pramana to verify that trance is a legitimate tradition in our culture. Whether trance is authentic or inauthentic is not of a topic today, right? So just because we have quack physicians, that doesn't mean that we go against the field of medicine entirely. So similarly, just because there are some quack trance practitioners, that doesn't mean we brand or ridicule the authentic trance tradition in a generic manner. Hope this makes things clear.